see that square.
Okay. Hello, Angelica.
Hello, Justin. How are you?
I am okay. I'm so sorry I'm a minute late. The Zoom was not wanting to load for me,
Oh, it's
but we got
okay.
it working.
Yes. Well,
Excellent. All right. So are we ready to talk some financial aid?
yes. So I'm just going to introduce the presentation and then I'll just pass it over to you.
Perfect.
Alrighty. So welcome everyone to Top Tutors for Us Road to College webinar series. Thank you so much for attending. So real briefly, let me just allow everyone in. Okay. All right. So the agenda for this evening's webinar. So first, we'll just briefly talk about, just share, our platform, Top Tutors for Us, and then and then I'll just share the upcoming dates of this is a series. So there's other webinar. We'll be hosting monthly webinar series with college admissions advisors. And then I'll introduce the speaker, Justin Wilson, and we'll have live Q&A and then a fun little game at the end. So please stay the entire time. So I'm Angelica Harris, and I'm the founder and CEO of Top Tutors for Us. I was born and raised in New Orleans, and I was a student that did really well in school, 4.0 GPA, but struggled with standardized testing. So in 11th grade, my score was actually a 16. But anyway, I managed in 7 months to increase my score by 16 points just within 7 months. And so with that much higher test score, I was offered $1.5 million in college scholarship. So I'm obviously very passionate about not just a test score, but obviously, being able to afford college. Um, and I went to a school called Washington University in St. Louis, where I was a triple degree graduate, and studied business and computer science. So, in this webinar series, today, Justin will discuss scholarships and financial aid, how you can maximize your portfolio as a high school student. Then, next month, we will have a webinar hosted by WashU on essay writing. In April, we'll have one hosted by USC, so University of Southern California, on application portfolio. So, like what courses and um, essentially your whole portfolio that you submit to college. So, Top Tutors for Us, it's all about getting students that are at a disadvantage and giving them an advantage. So, in 2023, less than 5% of Black students actually scored above a 20 on the ACT. So, according to the National Bureau of Economic Research, when Black students have one or more Black teachers, the graduation rates increase by over 32%. So we give these students an advantage by connecting them to tutors who look like them at top universities like Howard and Harvard. And we essentially apply that same research of cultural competency to test prep. So there's a three-step process to how we connect students with tutors. First, they begin with a behavioral assessment and then a technical assessment.
Oh.
Okay, let me,
Oops.
okay, there you go. Then we match them with a tutor who shares their background and provide them with an individualized roadmap curriculum. And yeah, they practice on our platform weekly to increase their scores. And on average, we're getting students' test scores up by 6 composite points. So we're very proud about that. And we are recruit our tutors. We're not called top tutors for no reason. So we recruit our tutors from top universities like Harvard and Howard, and we have a special focus on tutors coming from historically Black colleges and universities. And so we're proud to say that we've been able to provide test prep and services to students in schools all across the nation. We've served now over 1,500 students. Alrighty, well, with that being said, I will pass it over to Justin, but my dear friend Justin Wilson. Justin Wilson is a seasoned higher education professional with over a decade of experience in college admissions. Currently serving as an admissions officer at Mount Holyoke College, he has previously held roles at Truman State University's Fontbonne University and Washington University in St. Louis. His work is rooted in a student-centered philosophy with a strong commitment to helping students, particularly those from low-income, first-generation, and historically marginalized backgrounds, navigate the college search and admissions process. Outside of his professional roles, he enjoys cooking, listening to podcasts, bartending at a local winery, and spending time at home with his husband and their cats. So, welcome, Justin. I'll pass it over to you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Angelica. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our presentation tonight. I'm so excited to be back for another year presenting some really, really valuable information to you all today about financial aid and about really how to navigate this process. Now, I need to be very clear and upfront for you at the jump. I am not a financial aid counselor, but financial literacy when it comes to the college search process is a passion of mine. I really think that I can talk to you all about the different schools that are out there and what my school might be able to offer you in terms of the activities and internships and the study abroad and living on campus. That's fantastic. But if you can't even get there yet because you're not sure how you can afford it, then all of that information is lost on you. And so today, I'm really, really excited to be able to share with you a little bit about how to navigate the financial aid process. And I really want to make sure that I get to any questions that you all might have about this process as well, because it is pretty difficult to understand. So, hi, everyone. With that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we will get right into it. All right. Excellent. And Angelica, if you can give me a quick thumbs up to make sure that everyone can see the screen. Perfect.
I
Awesome.
see it,
Okay.
so hopefully everyone else can.
Perfect, perfect. All right. So, again, we're going to talk about financial aid and we're going to take it down to the basics of what we mean when we say financial aid. When you're talking to a college or university, there are so many different ways that we can take what your questions are asking, and what types of financial aid you might be wanting to discuss with us. And so, what I first want to do is I want to go into thinking about the cost of college and where you might be able to use the financial aid before we get into the different levels of financial aid. You can see up here when we're thinking about the cost of attending college, a lot of students and a lot of parents as well understand, okay, there is going to be the cost of tuition, what the academics actually cost. And then if I want to live on campus, then I'm going to have to think about, okay, well, how much is my housing going to cost? And what is my meal plan going to look like? So I need to make sure that I can pay for my academics, that I can live at or near the campus, and that I'm going to be fed, right? Those are our basics. However, what we have to understand is that there's so many other costs that are indirect that come out of so many different buckets when you're thinking about affording the college experience. So, yes, we have tuition, yes, we have housing and that meal plan, but you might have separate costs associated with the different activities that you might want to be a part of. You have health plans. Most colleges and universities will require you to have a health insurance plan, whether it is your own, or whether it is a health insurance plan that comes from your parents, or if it is coming directly from the university itself. And each of those might have a separate cost point and a cost barrier attributed with that health plan. We also have to think about the cost of living in the area. So not only is it, okay, well, I want to live on campus or I want to live near campus, you also have to think, okay, what is weekly grocery bill going to be like if I do decide to live in the general area? What is it going to cost me to take the public transportation around if I need to, or even just on campus? Is the public transportation around campus free, or will I have to get a bus pass? You're going to have to think about so many different things when you're thinking about the cost of living in an area. As far as how much more money you're going to be having to pay when you go to this college versus that college. We also take into consideration when you're thinking about the cost of attending college, with the travel. If you are going way, way, way far away to college, so let's say you live in New York City, and you are hoping to go to college at USC, one of the schools that's going to be talking to you very soon through this webinar series. You're going to have to think, okay, well, how much is a plane ticket going to cost me to get to and from the campus? And not just for the semesters, but you're also going to have fall break, winter break, spring break. And you're going to have to think, okay, well, how much is that generally going to cost me in terms of transporting myself to and from the campus, as well as parking once I get to the campus, right? Some schools, very few, but there are some, have free parking. There are some schools that have parking that maybe cost, around 150, 180 a year. There's some schools, like an institution that I worked for previously, where the cost of just parking on campus for a full year was almost $1,000 a year. So you have to really think about, okay, well, how much am I going to have to be paying for that parking as well as that transportation to and from campus? And then we have those personal expenses, right? So when we're talking about those personal expenses, we're talking about students, maybe not every day you're going to want to eat in the residence halls, right? You might want, a Friday night, just a pizza from Domino's. That's going to hit the spot as you're studying, or maybe you need a midnight snack, and you're going to want to go get yourself a Red Bull and some Takis, right? You're going to have to think about those personal expenses when you're thinking about attending college as well. So these are all different types of expenses that come into play when you're thinking about attending college and what that might cost you. And when we're looking through the financial aid landscape, when we're thinking about, okay, well, how much financial aid does a student typically need from us to make this a viable option for them? A lot of colleges and universities are going to take all of these costs into consideration. They're going to combine all of the projected costs to be able to say, okay, well, hey, I know that tuition, housing, and meal plan is only this, but we might want to consider giving you a little bit more financial aid to make sure that you're going to be able to afford the full college experience here. So we also have some ways that parents can pay for college, how families can pay for college, how students can pay for college. Financial aid from the college university itself is only a small, I mean, it's not a small part. Let me say that college financial aid has actually been gotten it has gotten really, really extensive these days, especially when you're looking at some of those highly selectives like a Mount Holyoke or a WashU or a USC. However, there's so many other ways that you can think about paying for college outside of the financial aid that that college is going to give you as well. So there are college savings plans for families who want to start early. So maybe it's too late for your student right now, but let's say you have a little baby at home too, and you want to make sure you do it. You start saving now for their college experience. You can set up a college saving plan. We have private and alternative loans. I'm sure some of you have heard of Sally Mae. That's one of those private companies that provides loans for students who need a little bit more financial aid outside of the other financial aid pieces that they're getting. You might have prepaid tuition plans that a college might offer you. There are a lot of colleges and universities that have monthly payment plans, semester payment plans, even weekly payment plans. You can set that up through the college bursar or the college financial aid office. Um, there are, of course, home equity loans that you can take out to afford the college experience. And then there are federal loans as well that we can talk about in the financial aid piece. But one of those federal loan pieces is actually the federal plus loan, the Parent Plus loan, which is a loan that students' parents can take out on behalf of the student to contribute towards the cost of college. And then, of course, we have right down here at the bottom financial aid and scholarships. So that is the bulk of what I am going to be here talking with you about tonight, in terms of what colleges and universities often offer and how we calculate how much college might be, for your student. Okay, so when we're talking about the financial aid, we have to talk about three different types. We're going to talk about that merit-based financial aid, or those talent-based financial aid pieces is sometimes what they're called as well. And those are going to be based off of your achievements. So your GPA, they might be based off special skills that you have. Like if you're really, really good at dance, or you are hoping to get a scholarship through athletics, those are going to be more of the merit-based scholarships. We're also going to think about then the need-based aid scholarships as well. And those scholarships are going to be, okay, looking at your family's financial situation, how much financial aid does your student need to get from the college or university itself, or an external financial aid and scholarship component to be able to make this opportunity an option based on what your family already makes, what your family's investments are, all of that good stuff. So that's going to be considered when we're thinking about that need-based aid. And then for some of you, you might have tuition benefits that are coming from your families as well. So let's say you work for a really fantastic company, whether it's a college or university itself, or whether you work for a company that otherwise gives some sort of tuition benefits. There are also those benefits that you can take out to help you afford to pay for the college experience. So, parents, I'm talking to you real quick. If you are not sure whether your company actually offers dependent tuition benefits, the easiest way to find that out is to go to HR, or if you're a small startup, maybe you don't have an HR, but to go to the company itself and say, "Hey, I've got a kid starting college soon," or maybe they're not starting soon, but I want to make sure that I'm prepared. What can you tell me about the benefits that come from this company in terms of helping me pay for my son or daughter's tuition, student fees, room, board, all of that stuff when it comes to the college experience? So, we also, when you're thinking about the financial aid process, we always have to come back to the idea of the expected family contribution. And this is used both with merit financial aid pieces as well as need-based financial aid pieces as well. Now, the FAFSA, which is one of the applications that you are likely going to fill out when you are applying for financial aid for college or university, the FAFSA no longer uses that EFC term. You might have heard about it in previous years. You might have heard about it in terms of, in general, the FAFSA and all the different financial aid 101 presentations that you might have been to, maybe, 3, 4, 5 years ago. But about 2 years ago, the FAFSA actually made a change. And so they're no longer calling this part of their calculation the EFC, or expected family contribution. But I still use it because I think it's a really useful way for you to understand exactly how we're still calculating how much need-based and merit-based financial aid we might be eligible to provide you as the college or university. Now, there's so many different things that come into to play when we're looking at that expected family contribution, excuse me. So when we are calculating, because we still calculate how much we expect your family is going to have to contribute towards your college experience, we're looking at everything within your family's financial situation. We're looking at your household size and expenses. So any sort of siblings that your student has, whether grandma and grandpa live with you, obviously looking at the different mortgages that you might have as well. We're taking a look at everything that it comes to play in terms of those expenses and that household size when we're looking at the expected family contribution and trying to calculate that. When we're looking at the EFC, we're also trying to figure out, okay, well, we might think that you can pay this amount of money to send your student to college, but what if you already have other students in college? Or parents, what if you are still in college yourself? Maybe you decide to go back and get a degree or a second degree or a master's, whatnot. So we're going to be looking at how many students or how many people in general in the household are going to be attending college or are already in college. We don't necessarily take a look at how many students have graduated from college already. So if you have a way older sibling that isn't already in college by the time that you're going to be in college as well, that's not going to be calculated within the expected family contribution. But we are going to look at, okay, for this specific academic year, how many people in your household are currently in college? And that's going to affect how much financial aid we can give you towards the positive, right? If there are more people in your family that are in college at one time, we might be able to give you more and more financial aid, again, both on the merit and the need-based financial aid side of things. We're going to be looking at those family assets and those savings. And so that's all going to be taken into account when we're looking at the FAFSA as well, seeing how much you've saved. If you did put together a college savings plan, we're going to be looking at that. We're going to be looking at, in general, what your family's financial standing is currently. And then we're also going to be, of course, looking at your family's income right now. So the FAFSA and the CSS profile are both based off of your taxes from 2 years ago. And so things can change. Obviously, we know that things can change. A lot can change in 2 years. And if anything taught us that, the pandemic taught us that. So while we're basing all of your family's financial aid on the information from 2 years ago, it's important to understand that we know that things change. We need you to communicate to us if things have changed. And so maybe your family's financial aid or your financial income has shifted a little bit since your taxes from 2 years ago. That's when you come to the college or university that or colleges and universities that you're applying for and say, hey, what we were making back then no longer looks like what we're making right now. We might be able to do an appeal there. And then, of course, special circumstances. That's one of the special circumstances, right? Our family's income from 2 years ago doesn't match what our family's income looks like right now. Other special circumstances, of course, are number of people in your household that are in college. We might look at special circumstances in terms of weather-related issues. We might think about your employment. So maybe 2 years ago, parent had a different job or had a job in general, and now maybe one parent no longer has that job, they're unemployed. We'll look at that in terms of special circumstances. Really, anything that comes into play when we're thinking about, okay, how much financial aid does your family qualify for based on the real truth of what your family has to offer to contribute to your college experience? And here's a little bit about how we calculate that. So, when colleges and universities are trying to figure out how much aid we're going to be able to afford to give you for a full year, for a full academic year, we're going to be looking at our total cost of attendance. That's tuition, student fees, room, meal plan, the health insurance, the expected student fees, activity fees, all of that stuff is going to come into play when we're thinking about that cost of attendance. And then we're going to subtract how much we expect your family to realistically and reasonably pay towards your out-of-pocket experience for the college experience. And then that's going to help us figure out how much financial aid you're going to qualify for, both on, again, the need-based side, and then again, for some colleges and universities, they also use this calculation when we're thinking about the merit and talent-based side of things as well for your scholarships and financial aid. So let me break that down a little bit better here as well with this graphic. So you can see, okay, both families, family A and family B, are trying to go to this college, and this college costs $88,488, right? Okay. So looking at a family's financial situation, taking into account your family's assets, the family income, we're looking at the number of students in the household that are also college going. We're looking at all of those different factors that I talked to you about before. We're then going to be able to calculate that EFC, and we're going to take that EFC and we're going to subtract that from the total cost of attendance to then figure out, okay, well, how much should your financial aid be for a year's long experience? So $88,488 a year, maybe your family, excuse me, is able to contribute 20,000 of that $88,000 $88,488 a year. And so your financial aid award, if that school meets full demonstrated need, which there are a lot of schools that don't, but if that school does meet full demonstrated need, that means that we are going to be able to calculate a financial aid award for you that is 6,000 or $68,488, right? Versus if your family can only contribute $100 out of pocket each year to send you as a student or parents, your student to college, then that college or university, again, if they meet full demonstrated need, should be able to then effectively offer you a higher financial aid package. So you can see right here, that's $88,388 a year. This is for colleges and universities that do meet 100% of demonstrated need. And let me talk to you a little bit about what that means. So, when we're saying full demonstrated need, we're saying we are not going to necessarily upcharge you for the cost of attendance at this college or university. We're not going to say, okay, your estimated family contribution is 20,000, but we're still going to charge you 70,000, right? We're going to say, okay, 20,000 minus what our total cost of attendance is, that's $68,488. Versus some schools, a lot of state schools, a lot of public schools, they might say, okay, well, hey, yes, your family is expected to be able to realistically contribute $20,000 a year, but we're still going to want to charge you a little bit more. And so we're going to say, okay, well, actually, the financial aid award that we're going to give you is only maybe $50,000 a year. And you're going to have to make up that gap, that cost that is not being met by what your family can realistically contribute and what our financial aid package can contribute to you as well. And that is where we come into all the different other pieces of financial aid outside of your need-based financial aid. So you can apply for more merit scholarships at that college or university. You can apply for external scholarships from different companies that offer financial aid as well. But I would really, if you leave here tonight with nothing, what I want you to leave with is I would really encourage you to consider colleges and universities that meet that full demonstrated need, meaning they're not going to gap you. They're not going to play games with you and say, hey, we cost this much. We know you can pay this much, but we're still going to need you to give us a little bit more than what your family can realistically afford to pay. Those colleges that meet full demonstrated need are amazing at being able to provide students with the amount of financial aid that your family can actually utilize to make that college experience a reality. Now, there are so many amazing schools that don't meet 100% of demonstrated need, right? So I'm not telling you not to consider those schools. However, I really want to make sure that you all are asking these questions in your financial aid conversations with colleges and universities to find out, do you meet full demonstrated need? If so, you might be a little bit higher on my list than some of these schools that don't necessarily meet 100% of demonstrated need. So, this is where we talk about all of the different types of financial aid that you might receive from the colleges and universities themselves, as well as from the FAFSA and the CSS profile. So the FAFSA and CSS profile, let's start with those. Those are two applications for financial aid that you definitely will have to fill out the FAFSA. If you're applying for any sort of need-based financial aid, you're going to fill out the FAFSA, which is the free application for student aid. Um, a free application for federal student aid, excuse me. And the FAFSA is, like I just said, free. It doesn't cost anything to submit the FAFSA. And you're going to want to fill that application out for most of the schools that in fact, all of the schools, I would say, that you're applying for your college experience. Some schools also require the CSS profile, and the CSS profile is through this company called College Board. That profile is different from the FAFSA. It gives us a little bit more of a deeper understanding of what your family can realistically afford to pay out of pocket to send you to this college or university. So, what a lot of the schools that meet full demonstrated need will do is that they'll say they want both. We want the FAFSA and we want the CSS profile. We want to be able to compare them. We want to be able to learn from each of those to figure out how much realistically can your family contribute towards your college experience. Therefore, how much realistically do we need to make sure that we're giving you in terms of the financial aid that we're offering to make this financial aid offer feasible for your family. So with those two applications for financial aid, the FAFSA and the CSS profile, those are where you're going to find a lot of those grants and those loans that you might qualify for to help you pay for your students' educational experience. So we have, in terms of those grants, you have state funded grants, typically, not every state, but most states have state funded grants. For my Florida kids, for instance, you might qualify for Bright Flights. For my Missouri students, you might qualify for the Missouri Access Grant. You might qualify for other state-funded grants that you're only going to be able to receive after filling out the FAFSA and seeing if you qualify. There are also the federal student loans. And so the loans are, again, we already kind of talked about the Parent Plus loan, and that's through the FAFSA as well, but that's a little bit separate. But for students, there are two loans that you might qualify for through the federal government that are really, I would say, they're your best bets when you're thinking about starting in the loan consideration process. And that is the direct subsidized and the direct unsubsidized loan. Both those loans have pretty low interest rates. And you'll come to understand too that for the direct subsidized loan, that loan actually doesn't even start accruing interest with those interest rates until after your student has graduated with their 4-year degree. And fun hack, if your student has qualified for any of those federal loans, the federal subsidized, federal unsubsidized, or the Parent Plus loan, you actually don't even have to start paying that loan money back at all until you've graduated. Or if you continue along from your bachelor's degree to your master's degree, you get to continue to defer on your loan payments for those three federal loans as well because you're still in school, right? The thought process is you're still in school, you're still earning these degrees and these skills so that you can go out and get an amazing job that'll then help you pay for or pay these loans back. So they are not necessarily going to expect you to start making payments until after you have completed your educational degrees. And I will say just very quickly, because that can be a little bit confusing as well, the federal government does require you to keep going year after year after year to defer those payments as well. So for instance, so I'll take myself for example. I'm not going to tell you how long ago, but I went to school. I went and got my 4-year degree. And then I said for myself, I know that I'm probably not going to go back and get my master's degree unless I do it immediately. So I graduated and I said, I'm immediately going to grad school. That very next fall, I was in grad school. So that is how my federal loan payments got deferred until after I graduated from grad school. For students who, okay, they want to go and get their 4-year degree, and then maybe they want to spend a gap year or some time not going to school anymore. They know eventually I want to go get my master's or eventually I want to go get my doctorate, but not immediately. The federal government does require you to start paying those federal student loans back um, until you decided, hey, I'm now going to enroll in a master's degree program. And then those payments will be deferred again. So that's about the loans. And that's borrowed money. That is money that you do have to eventually pay back, whether you're taking a loan out from the federal government or whether you're taking out a loan from any of those private companies like Sallie Mae. That is money that you have to give back. But we also talked about grants. And those grants are free money. They're gift aid. They're not play money. It's not monopoly money. It's real money that you're being given because of your family's financial situation or again with that merit financial aid as well. And so for the FAFSA and the CSS profile, the gift money that you're going to be eligible for, hopefully, are going to be those grant dollars, and those grant dollars are going to go towards helping you afford the cost of an education. And they're not required to be paid back. So you might have heard of the Pell Grant, for instance. That Pell Grant is exactly that. It's free gift money. you don't have to worry about paying that Pell Grant back once you have graduated with your degree or your degrees. And all of that can be qualified for through filling out the FAFSA and in some cases the CSS profile. Now let's go back to the scholarships and grants that come directly from the college or university, right? So the scholarships and grants that come directly from the university, that is also free gift aid. That is aid that you do not have to worry about paying back. So if you qualify for this much money in a merit scholarship because you got a 3.85 GPA and your testing was, you got a 35 on the ACT, you're going to get this amount of merit aid depending on what your school's merit aid policies are. Um, and so that's money that the school is taking directly out of our coffers, directly out of our pockets, and saying, we believe in you enough to be able to give you this merit aid and not expect you to have to pay it back because we think that you're going to add to our community. You're going to add merit to our institution, right? You might also qualify for grants that are need-based, and that's free money that, regardless of what we think you're going to be able to contribute to our campus or to our institution, we're saying, okay, we know that we're expensive. Colleges and universities nationwide, too expensive these days, right? So we're saying, okay, hey, we know that we're expensive, but to make this a realistic opportunity for you, we're going to give you X amount of dollars in free grant aid from the college or university to make this a more affordable option for you, right? So again, that is all gift aid that you don't have to worry about paying back. But to qualify for the scholarships and grants, that you are getting from the college university itself, and the student loans, the federal loans, all of that stuff. You're going to have to continue to fill out the FAFSA, and for the schools who require the CSS profile, you're going to continue to fill out the CSS profile year after year after year as well to continue to qualify. Through the federal government, I want to go back a little bit because I forgot to talk about the work study process as well. So through the federal government, if you are estimated to have a enough need for financial aid, your student might also qualify for a work study job. And so you can see on this screen, that is neither free money. We're not giving that to you for free. You have to work for it, but it's also not a loan. It's not something that you have to pay back. It is money that your student works for. And I know parents, a lot of this is kind of like, oh, this is coming back to me now. Yeah, that work study job is money that your student can actually earn by working a campus job, so that they can actually earn money to put towards their tuition, student fees, room, meal plan, all of that good stuff combined. Students can do work study in so many different places on campus. There are work study opportunities in the library, or if you want to work in the admissions office, most schools will have work study positions where you can actually give tours on our campus, do student interviews, all of that good stuff. Those can be work study jobs that your student will have to apply for. But once they have been told through the FAFSA process, hey, I qualify for that work study job, you can apply for that job. And if you get that job, that is going to be a consistent job while they're in college that they'll then be able to earn money to be able to put towards their college experience. And then, of course, like we said before, we have these dependent tuition benefits. And again, these are going to come parents from your workplace. And so again, I just really want to encourage you, even if you're like, I don't think that my employer gives any tuition benefits. There's no harm in asking, right? There's no harm in asking to see, hey, I have a kid that's going to college. Is there anything this company can do to help me afford that, right? Okay. So that is the general overview of financial aid. I laid a lot on top of you all, a lot of information to digest. I wanted to leave some room to see if there were any questions that you all have. So Angelica, let me know if I'm off in a different direction from what your perspective was. But I'm wondering if how we want to ask our guests to ask their questions.
Yeah, so you guess so you either can drop your question in the chat box or just raise your hand. The little icon feature, like you can raise your hand and then I'll just unmute you. Okay, so
Perfect.
we have a first question just in the chat.
Okay. Let me take a look at that chat. I'll stop sharing my screen and I will see the chat. Okay. So the first question is, what is the CSS profile again? So the CSS profile is a profile through this company called College Board. College Board is, funny enough, that company that also distributes standardized testing for students. And so you might have heard of two different companies that do standardized testing in terms of college admissions, and that is the College Board and the ACT, which is owned now by Encura. And I'm getting into the weeds here. You don't need to know who owns what. It's the ACT and the SAT. The SAT is through College Board, and so the College Board also has this tool called the CSS Profile, and that tool is an application for financial aid that mostly is used by selective and highly selective colleges and universities. So you're likely not going to be asked to fill out the CSS profile if your student has decided to go to a state school or to a public land grant institution, but the CSS profile is often going to be required if your student is going to a selective or highly selective private school. That CSS profile does have a cost associated with it. So typically speaking, students will be asked to pay $75 to fill out the CSS profile, and they can fill out that CSS profile and send that to a number of schools. However, your student also might qualify for a fee waiver either from the colleges and universities that they are applying to or directly from their high school as well, depending on what high school your student attends. And so you might be able to get around that fee for the CSS profile. But as I said before, with the FAFSA being the free application for federal student aid, that CSS profile does typically come with that $75 fee. And that's going to be $75 a year as well. So you want to make sure that you understand that if the college or university does require you to complete the CSS profile every year, you're going to have that $75 every year unless you qualify for a fee waiver. Great question, though. Yes, thank you, Cece. What other questions you all have, even if it is, of course, absolutely. Even if it is like, hey, you used a term that I have no clue what that means. Again, as Angelica said, I've been doing this for long enough that sometimes I forget what terms are not widely known, right? It is my job to know what I'm talking about, though. It is not your job to know. So if there's something you're like, hey, can you go back to that? Or hey, you used a term that I'm not really familiar with, please feel free to come back and ask me about that. So I have another question here that asks, do most colleges have a financial aid office that we can speak with directly? Specifically Nicholls State. Um, Great question. So I can, I'm at a like 99.98% certainty that Nicholls State does have a financial aid office that you can speak directly to because most colleges, universities do, but I don't want to say completely yes and then you come back to me and say, "Yeah, I went to Nicholls State and they said no, we don't have a financial aid office." That would like blow my mind, but I don't want to promise to you for sure. But yes, most colleges and universities have financial aid offices that not only are available for you to go in and talk with about general financial aid questions, but they also will assign your student a counselor directly. Some colleges call them financial aid counselors, or colleges call them SFS counselors, which is student financial services. Whatever they call that counselor, that is a counselor on top of your admissions officer that will work directly with you and your family on a one-on-one basis to make sure that you are understanding everything you need to know about their financial aid piece. So, if your student is interested in Nicholls State, right? I would say the first step, if you're looking for, who at Nicholls State can talk to me about this financial aid situation specifically for Nicholls State, I would say the first step is to go to the website and see if you can find a financial aid office or Office of Financial Aid or Office of Student Financial Services. There's so many different ways that colleges and universities will name their office, and that gets really confusing too. I didn't do that, but I'm going to apologize to you right now. There's so many different ways that a college might name their financial aid office, but I would go to the website and I would just check and see if I can find financial aid at Nicholls State or financial aid at WashU or financial aid at Mount Holyoke. Um, and then once you know whether or not that office exists, you can get in contact with them and you can talk with them directly about, hey, if my student were to apply to the school, does my student get a SFS counselor, a financial aid counselor, that will be able to walk my student and, as the parent, me, through the financial aid at this institution? So, great question. There's a question, is financial aid available for grad school? Ooh, that's such a great question. The answer is yes. Oftentimes, grad school students who are wanting to go into grad school will have institutional based aid that they might qualify for. Um, just a little bit of an aside, most schools' grad school financial aid is going to be a lot less than that bachelor's degree financial aid. So that's just something to take into account, something to consider. And then, of course, there is federal financial aid that is available for grad school as well. Currently, we all know that things are happening in our federal government that are making things, specifically financial aid, kind of tough, especially for graduate level students. So I'm not going to promise you that there is going to be federal financial aid for grad school students right now. Who knows? Every day we get hit with something different. But as of right now, yes, there is both that federal financial aid as well as institutional aid for grad schools. And again, those grad schools will have their separate financial aid offices that are going to be able to walk you through what grad school financial aid looks like at that institution. Oh, I love this question. Do you recommend any websites for merit-based scholarships? Yes. And I'm going to take off my Mount Holyoke hat for a minute. And these are just Justin Wilson, who has worked in college admissions for a multitude of years. These are my recommendations. So I have three that I absolutely love, and those three are FastWeb, Unigo, and you've heard this before, the College Board. Those three virtual scholarship finding websites are fantastic because they allow you, or I should say, they allow your student, you should put your student in the driver's seat here, but they allow your student to actually create a profile and say, hey, my name is this, identify as this gender or this sex. I am planning on studying XYZ. I am hopeful to go to schools like this. I want to go to a liberal arts school. I want to go to a Research One institution. And then once your student has created that profile for any of those three scholarship websites, your student will actually be hit with scholarships that the algorithm has kind of calculated that student might be a really good fit for. So if your student is saying, I want to study pre-med at a Research One institution, that those scholarship websites might send you financial aid scholarships that your student can apply for because they want to study pre-med at a Research One institution. So that's a really great question. But again, and I'll type those into the chat as well. So I'll say them again, FastWeb, Unigo, and College Board. They all have really substantial financial aid websites that can help you find scholarships out there that your students can apply for. There are also going to be a lot of regional scholarship websites as well that I might suggest. So again, I lived in St. Louis for 10 years. So for my St. Louis people, Scholarship Central is a really great one. Um, and of course, based on your region, you might be able to find those more regional scholarship websites as well that'll help you find scholarships directly in that area. One other thing that I want to say about this, and I know I'm beating the dead horse here, but one other thing I want to say about websites that that give students any merit-based scholarships or need-based scholarships is that you should never pay money to apply through any of these websites. So if there's a website that says, hey, yeah, we have a whole ton of scholarships that your student can apply for, but before you get to see the slate of all the different scholarships we offer, you have to pay $80. It's a scam. I won't say maybe it's not a scam, but it's not worth it. There's so many websites out there that allow your students to apply for free to scholarships that you should not ever feel like you have to pay for a subscription to a website just to get access to scholarships that you can apply for that your student may or may not receive, right? So good question there. Let's see. Next question. Are HBCU colleges generally generous with need-based grants? It depends. It really depends. I don't want to throw my HBCU brothers and sisters under the bus in terms of colleges and universities. There are some schools, and I'm not going to name any names here either. There are some schools in terms of HBCUs that offer good amounts of financial aid. There are some schools who have that that reputation for not offering any need-based financial aid, right? And that is something that you'll definitely want to, again, ask that school directly, go to their financial aid office or call them up, email them and say, hey, what is your need-based grant? What is your need-based scholarship policy? What do those look like? Need-based grants as well as merit scholarships, because there are some of those HBCUs that might say, oh yeah, blah, 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 we have all this and this and this. And there's some they're gonna look at you with that sad look in their eye and they're gonna tell you, yeah, we really don't offer that. Um, but yes, I would definitely encourage you to talk directly with those financial aid offices for HBCUs. Is there any way to search for colleges that meet full demonstrated need? Ooh, the way that I do it, I talk directly with those financial aid offices, but also you can Google, right? Like if you Googled right now, Washington University in St. Louis demonstrated need, you'll find out very quickly, yes, they do meet 100% of demonstrated need, right? So I would start with Google for sure. But again, if Google makes it a little unclear for you, especially with like the AI tools that are now in the Google search, they might confuse you a little bit. I would go directly to that school and just ask. Honestly, most financial aid officers and most admissions officers are more than happy to share that information with you. It's not our job to trick you into, and I guess I'm talking directly to the students, but students, it's not our job to trick you and to convince you to go to our school and pay more than what your family can realistically afford to pay to go to that school. It's our job to give you the information about what we have to offer and then help you and your family make the decision that is right for you. Most college admissions officers and financial aid officers are in this as an advocate for you. And so they'll tell you directly, straight up, hey, yeah, we do or we don't offer full financial aid. They'll tell you about whether or not you have to complete the FAFSA and the CSS profile or just the FAFSA. Really, I would just say go ahead and ask. But yes, Google should help you with finding those schools that meet full demonstrated need for sure. Let's see, another question. Are there scholarships available for students whose parent guardian is retired military? And also, what if both of the students' parents are deceased? Yeah, I mean, there are scholarships out there for literally everything. Typically speaking, those types of unique and niche scholarships are not going to come directly from the college or university itself. But again, FastWeb, Unigo, College Board, Scholarship Central, all these different websites, they have scholarships for students who are, the dependents of vets. They have scholarships for students who are redheaded, scholarships for students who are left-handed, who are vegan, who want to study, very niche areas of architecture like urban planning. There are scholarships for almost everything out there. And so a great way again to find those scholarships are going to be to go to those websites and create a profile. Um, there's also, if you are retired military, you might qualify for the GI Bill, and so I would definitely encourage you to talk with your last commanding officer or someone who works for your branch and see if you might qualify for the GI Bill. If parents are deceased, from the school, the college university side of things, if both parents are deceased, typically speaking, what we'll do is we'll actually consider that student to be independent, right? And so then that student can oftentimes qualify for more need-based financial aid because when we're calculating the cost of what a student's family can realistically afford to pay out of pocket, that student doesn't have parents who can afford to pay out of pocket for this and that and the other. So we're going to be able to give a little bit more financial aid for those students as well. All really good questions. Angelica, how am I doing on time?
Oh, you're doing great on time. So we have time for one last question.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you.
Justin, well, that was incredibly helpful. Thank you for sharing your expertise tonight. And thank you to all who joined. Now let me go ahead and as a reminder, these are our upcoming webinars. We hold webinars at our Road to College webinars at the first Wednesday of every month. Our next one is with WashU college essay writing, and then in April with USC on April Fool's Day, actually, on building your college application portfolio. Okay, so I collected everyone's names and I put into a wheel of fortune. So if you remained on the whoever's name is selected will receive a voucher for a free one-on-one top tutor session. So it'll be matched with a culturally competent tutor, and yeah, you'll be able to take our assessment. And anyway, three, two, one. And this is for ACT SAT. All right. So congratulations, Mary Elizabeth. You are the winner of our free top tutor session. So anyway, thank you guys and have a great night.
Thank you all so much for
Oh,
coming.
and
We
Justin, if you can
appreciate
stay
you.
on for a second too.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'll remove everybody else. Okay, yeah. Okay, hi. So thank you so much. I just like randomly just I was like, I'm thinking about Justin. I wonder how he's doing. I thought you were still at WashU, and I'm like, oh wow, he's at Mount Holyoke. So you really moved up in your career. So
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
liking it.
trying. No, I honestly, I would still be at WashU. I love Mount Holyoke, and I'm so happy that things worked out the way they did. But I would still be at WashU. I'm going to tell you just frankly. They had to make some hard decisions about their DEI efforts. And so because I was the DEI recruitment guy, and there was so much of that pressure from the federal government, they had to make some decisions. And so my position was cut, but I, you know, rose from the ashes. I'm still here.
There you go. Yeah, and that was like really like that's what you break down like those concepts really, really well. I even was learning. I'm like, oh, I didn't really know about those terms. I mean, I like you go through the process, you don't really like think about it that much. You kind of.
Absolutely. Well, it's so much to think about too. And then it's like once you get through it, I'm like, you want to forget everything because you're like, oh, that was so much. I like just want to lay down, right? So, no, that's why I talk to the parents and everyone that I work with too is like, again, this college admissions officers and financial aid officers, but it is so confusing and it changes, I feel like every year at this point. So we definitely want to be able to be a resource for you all, so that you don't have to navigate it by yourself.
Hmm.
So.
Yeah, so but yeah, we're doing this series and this is actually I'm thinking we need to like kind of stay on this topic of scholarship and financial aid because this was pretty much I think our at least our some of our other ones. Okay, we took a break from like you did one and then I did one and like I pretty much took a break because I was trying to run top tutors and everything and it was taking too much time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was like really happy to pay like everyone stayed the entire time. So this is like a topic that's really needs a lot of demystifying.
100%. I know. I just scratched the surface too. There's so much that needs to be talked about when it comes to
Mhm.
financial aid. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think that more sessions on financial aid could be super, super helpful. And again, if there's any way that I can support the work you're doing in terms of like connecting you with other professionals in the field, connecting you with, different resources to make sure that your parents are getting all this knowledge, just let me know. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, I probably will be following up with you. I have connected with like the two other ones. Actually, oh, one of them actually is your friend, the USC individual, I believe. Yeah.
Oh, I'm wondering, is it it probably isn't Gabe. Who would be the one over at USC?
You said Gabe?
Is it Ruben?
Yes, Ruben. Yeah.
Ruben. Oh, I love that guy. Yeah, Ruben is fantastic. I'm so glad that you got him then. Perfect.
Yes, yeah. I really want this to like be a part of something Top Tutors does and offers to our community. Actually, we open up to anyone.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like so this is our first one back sent in like a year. So over a year probably.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, well, yeah, I will definitely be following up with you and just thank you so much for just continuing to, you know, be a resource. And this is like an important topic, especially with so much going on.
Yeah, 100%. No, and thank you for continuing the work you do as well. This is um such hard work on your end, especially with, again, all of the, I feel like I don't know half the time where the federal government is going with their decisions. So it must be like even more confusing for people who aren't dealing with it day after day after day. So thank you for continuing to do this work. It's really, really important. And I mean, you could stop at the tutoring, right? But you said, no, we're going to do more. I appreciate
Yeah, this is
that.
like literally we're building like we want it to be a one stop shop. We're starting with ACSAT, but like yeah, we're going to like college, and then now trade school is really getting really big and like all those exams and but yeah, we hope to really be that education platform for um like underrepresented students. We use the word black, but I know that's kind of like but I guess I'll have to wait till
No.
like so
Right, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what the Supreme Court says in, another couple years. But
yeah.
no, this is fantastic. Well, definitely have a great rest of your night. Like I said, reach out anytime if you need anything from me. And I really, really hope that we can continue this connection.
Yeah, well, thanks again. Well, have a good night.
Thank you. You too, Angelica.